Welcome to Vibrant Numerals, where we explore all of the vibrations of the universe and try to apply them to our lives through numerology. I'm Elizabeth, and this video is a follow up. I got a request to be able to talk a little bit more about the new moon in Leo. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to also talk about the numerology of moon cycles in general and how to be able to use them. So let's first look at moon cycles generally. So we typically have this moon cycle. Go. Um, where there's these 8 stops on this cycle. And it usually takes the moon about 27, 28 days to get all the way back to where it originally started. And it's circling around the earth, and that's how we're getting these different moons. The moon energy is really important for us because it is a constant cycle. It's an energy that we are constantly in contact with. We already know that it impacts all of the tides and the water on the earth, and we know that we are made up of water and that our emotions are attached to water. So I'm not saying that there's scientific evidence of any of that, but I'm sure that we all have had some experiences of this. And so when we're thinking about this moon energy, we need to really pay attention to these 4 places. So we talk a lot about full moon and new moon, where full moon and new moon, here in the red, are the ones that we talk about quite often. And we talk about the energy moving from a new moon, where it's new energy, that's moving over to the full moon. So it's opening up, and then the full moon is a full display of that energy. You can see it fully. That's what we typically refer to when we think about the moon cycles and what we're talking about here. And that's fine. That's the one that happens most often, and that's the one that catches our attention most often. But what we need to see, and then it comes back here to the new moon again. But what we need to see is that there's actually 2 transition points within this cycle from new moon to full moon and back to new moon. And the first one is this first quarter moon. And then we also have the last quarter moon. And this is when we basically have half and half. We have a half dark side of the moon, and we have a half lit up side of the moon. And so this is where it's a perfect balance point, and would be considered the transition point between these 2 major parts of the lunar cycle. And so when we think about the way that moon energy impacts us, and in particular how we can use it, we need to think about all 4 of these points within the lunar cycle. Where, yes, the new moon and the full moon are always going to be the ones that draw our attention the most. But we also need to recognize these transition points of when we're transitioning and we're getting closer to that full moon from the new moon at that first quarter moon. But then also as we're transitioning away from the full moon back to that new moon and that transition point of the last quarter moon. So let's talk about this new moon in Leo in particular. And so when we think about any of these moons, but we'll use the new moon in Leo as our example, the first thing that you want to look at is what is the sign that it's in, because that's the energy that is this moon energy is going to resonate with. So it's almost like the zodiac sign is the filter that the moon energy is going through. And so then it's filled up with that. So if we had like a blue light filter or a red light filter, then what was originally white light will come through and we'll see it as blue or as red, and we'll experience it in that way. That's what's happening when we have this moon in the signs. So if we look at the new moon, where new moon is new energy, it's like fertile ground. It's a time to go internal and really understand your intentions. So, new moon is a time to go in, not in, in, and work on intentions. And your intentions should be around the energy of the sign that's giving it filter. So if we look here at Leo, Leo is this big, huge, bright, radiant energy. And so even though the new moon is dark, we want our intentions to be around how do we radiate out this energy? How do we shine? How do we make it or use it to help us shine and be our biggest, boldest self, like Leo? And that goes for any of these moons, that could be in any of these signs. So when we are seeing and we're getting reports about a moon in a particular sign, we first want to look and see, well, what kind of energy is being radiated out, and how to be able to relate that to our intentions when it's a new moon. The other thing is you can look at your birth chart too to see what type of energy your natal moon is like being able to radiate out. So like my natal moon is in Libra, and your moon is, oh, didn't mean to cross it out, uh, but your oh, and then I erased the wrong thing. Let's try this again. Nope, nope, not what we gonna do. All right, we're just gonna leave it. So your natal moon is just giving you more information about how, usually how your emotions flow. So for me, having my natal moon in Libra, it's very much wanting to find a balance. But it changes. My emotions can change very easily, um, and so it's needing to find balance point. So that's how we can use these moons with the zodiac signs. So again, first we see where in the moon cycle is the moon that we're talking about, and then we look at what sign it's in to understand what energy is coming through that moon. And then we look at what house. And the house is going to be individual to everybody. So everybody's going to have each of those zodiac signs in a different house. And what the house tells you is your area of life. Area of life. So if we use the again, this new moon in Leo that we just had as an example. So we have this new moon, which is telling us that we need to set intentions, because that energy, that vibration is focused on the internal. And so we need to set intentions. We need to plant the seeds. You plant the seeds in the dark. And so that's the dark of the new moon. We know that it was in Leo, and so Leo is that radiant energy. So, how do we set intentions to help us radiate? What do we want to radiate out? Um, and then you could look at the house in your natal chart. You look to see what house Leo is in, and that tells you what area of life you should be applying this energy and setting your intentions. So, Leo typically is, let me see, Aries. Leo is usually, gosh, can't think of what it usually is. I believe it's usually, I want to say 5, but I don't think that's right. Anyway, we'll pick a different house. We'll go ahead and pick 5. Um, so if your Leo is in the 5th house, this is the area of romance, children, fun, and creativity. So you could create or set intentions. You could set intentions around your creativity and how to radiate your creativity. So, how do you set intentions of presenting your creativity to the world, sharing it with the world? Because it also is I serve. So, it is sharing your creativity with the world. So, in the new moon in Leo, it's set intentions to radiate out your creativity. So that's how we would use the house. So first, it's what phase of the moon is it, then what sign, and then what area of life, which is the house. So now let's look even more at how we would use this. So in every month, because the moon cycles around in like 27, 28 days, sometimes it's like 29.5, it's like really 27.5 is how many days it takes for the moon to make a full cycle. So that means in any of our months with the calendar that we use where it has 30 or 31 days, we get at least one full moon cycle every single month. So in every month, we will have a new moon, a first quarter moon, a full moon, and a last quarter moon. And so there's a couple of different ways that we can use this energy. So the first one, and the one that is most common, is to use the 2-week intentions. So all of these are the timing of your intentions. So let's see. Timing of intentions. And I want to, just as a side note, remind us all that the moon is energy 18, the 9. So it's using the cycling energy to draw new energy in, and then those together can bring you to an end of a cycle or a shifting of the energy. So you can use this energy to be able to manifest, and then be able to end when you get to that outcome. But you can also use this energy as a consistent cycle of being able to generate energy that can be pushed into other areas of your life. So we could do 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, there would be, so if we start at the new moon, then 2 weeks there's going to be a full moon. So you could set intentions, and this is going to be, these are going to be in different signs. So you would start with this energy. So let's say this is Leo. and then it would go into this new energy. It would travel through, and in 2 weeks, it's going to be a full moon where you could brightly see if your intentions are sticking, if they're actually being able to take root and they're able to start growing, or they have grown. You could really set some 2 week goals, some 2 week intentions in this time. So anything that you want illuminated, that you want to be able to see, this is where you can use this 2 week time span. We also have a 6 month time span, so 26 weeks, where, and this really is like that 27.5, so 26 to 28 weeks, because this is going from like any of these moon cycles, this is like new moon to new moon in the same sign. So this is when let me see if I said that right. Nope, that's not right. This would be going from of course, you won't let me erase it. But this is going from, it's still going from new moon to full moon, but in the same sign. So where it's 2 weeks, they're different signs. In this one, it's all Leo. So with the 2 weeks where you want to plant it in one energy and then see it, so this is like planting it. And then this is where you can see it. Now the energy is just the same. So this, you're going to be able to actually see even more of these Leo energy intentions being illuminated. And so here we can still have the same intentions as 2 weeks. We would just expect to see much more because it's in the same sign, which means it's in the same house, the same area of life for you. So we can set some bigger intentions, some bigger goals at this 6 month placement. And I put the weeks here just because, let me get this, 26, approximately 26 weeks in a 6 month period. That's to go from new moon to full moon, which makes sense because 2 more weeks is when you'll get back to the new moon. But 26 is the numerical vibration of the word God. So that's some pretty powerful energy. So this is powerful creation energy. So in this 6 month period, you could plant in this energy at the new moon and then be able to have it be illuminated and see it in this full moon time. The last one is the biggest one. The biggest energy and the biggest changes that you'll see. And it is this 2.5 year cycle. Here it's this 113 or 130, where 13 is that energy of the biggest transformation that you could make. And it's being enhanced or helped along with this divine energy of 0. So it's like that God energy, that divine energy came in and is helping with the transformation when you're using this cycle. So this cycle is again going from new moon through this cycle, but this one is ending at the last quarter moon. I'm gonna see, I don't know if I put additional charts here. Oh, I didn't. Um, but I think I'm gonna move this over so I can write this out, and then we'll come back. So for this 2.5 year cycle, so for 2.5 years, you plant your seeds at the new moon. So this is setting your intentions. This is beginning to manifest. At the first quarter moon, this is where you are first taking significant action. This is where you're taking significant action in beginning this process. When we're doing this 2.5 year cycle, this is where it's the same sign. So we're still in Leo here, but it's the degrees are exactly the same or within 3 degrees. So it's like less than or equal to 3 degrees of difference. So the placement of the energy. So this is like exact energy. So we're fine tuning it. We're getting closer and closer to the exact energy. So it's getting more and more into the flow. So when we're at that 2 week, we're in the flow of this moon cycle, but we're kind of like near the bank still, where it's moving slower. And then if we go in a little bit further, now to that 6 month, we're more in the flow. We're moving a little bit faster. We're able to do more with that energy because we're getting more of it. But then this 2.5 year cycle, this is a huge manifestation cycle, and it's moving very quickly. So if we jump in this flow, this is where we can manifest very quickly and in very big ways. So back to this. So at the new moon, you're setting your intention. At the first quarter moon is where you're taking action on that intention. And you could plan this out because you could look at the calendar and be able to find these moons and actually plan it out. And then at the full moon is when you are able to get some illumination on the intention so you can see how it's going. And also you could pivot. So if you needed to make some small changes or change what you're doing or change what you're manifesting a little bit, this is the time when you could do that. And then you get to the last quarter moon, and this is the harvest of this cycle, of this moon cycle. So then you get to the harvest. It's also like a completion time. Yeah, so then when you come back here, we can see the buildup of this energy, because now when we do 2 weeks, it's only one half of that cycle. But when we have 6 months, because we have each cycle is going to be or each month is going to have a whole cycle. Now we have, I think it's like ends up being like 5.5 moon cycles. So more energy. You have more moon energy. And then at the 2.5 years, where you have 130 weeks, now you're going around and you have like 129 and 3/4 of this moon energy, because that's how many times you've gone around this cycle. So all of this energy moves in a spiral, and it spirals up and it spirals down. And so in this case, we're using this motion to be able to build up the energy and put it towards these intentions and manifest very big. Okay. So hopefully that answered any of the questions you had about this new moon in Leo. This was a great example for this. Please let me know in the comments below what other questions you have, how else I can help you to be able to start harnessing some of this moon energy and using it for your intentions throughout the months and throughout the years. So thanks for joining me. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and hit the notification bell so you can get my next recording. Thanks. Bye.